Japanese entertainment is an absolute powerhouse now, where Western creatives have failed, Eastern creatives have succeeded, and now a new Japanese policy proposal is going viral, where they seek to defend creative freedom for anime, manga, and video games. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, we have had to deal with a lot of censorship when it comes to Japanese entertainment over the past couple of years. Japanese creatives are targeted when it comes to releasing their games on Steam or PlayStation, and anime and manga is often butchered by Western localizers, though now we're hearing about this new policy to defend creative freedom, which I think is great. So, offering a light of hope to the concept of creative freedom amidst the world's turns to politically motivated puritanism, the Japanese government has drafted a new entertainment policy which not only offers support to the country's creative industries, but also protections against state meddling and censorship. And I think things like this are absolutely phenomenal. I want creatives to be able to make whatever they want, and as long as it is properly rated, they should be able to create it and publish it. Proposed by the Japanese Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry during their 8th Creative Industry Study Group this past October, the 5 principles of entertainment and creative industry policy are a set of tentative guidelines by which the government hopes to assist the country's manga, anime, and video game industries, which isn't shocking given how quickly it has grown worldwide and how much money it is now bringing in. I mean, as it says, they announced a goal of 130 million USD roughly in overseas sales by 2033 as based on a review of policies implemented by 2013 to 2024 and insights gained from public feedback. Now, speaking to the results of their policy reviews, as per a copy of their informational material provided by a Japanese news outlet. So, during the period in which the government took the lead and strengthened support, overseas sales expanded. Although government budget projects have expanded despite instability, and analysis indicate certain positive effects, wage growth has remained low. Past policies did not lead to sufficient expansion of tangible and intangible asset stock, and labor productivity and wages did not improve enough. As for public feedback on their efforts, the ministry found that when it came to the government's involvement in said industries, consumers had 3 main demands going forward: refrain from inferring in or commenting on the contents of the works it supports, reduce the proportion of government support that goes to intermediaries, and increase the share that directly reaches those engaged in the creation and dissemination of works. Taking these insights into account, METI assembled their 5 proposed principles: providing large-scale, long-term, and strategic support, supporting efforts to create in Japan and deliver to the world, not interfering with the content, delivering directly, and prioritizing challengers. And these all mean identifying key areas for focused support through stakeholder discussions, revise dynamically, and provide large-scale long-term assistance to enhance business feasibility and predictability, stimulating private investment, supporting domestic investment in IP, talent, and digital infrastructure, as well as overseas investment in international distribution networks and fandom development, ensuring creative freedom by refraining from influencing the substance of works, simplifying policy support systems as much as possible so that stakeholders involved in content creation and dissemination can easily access and utilize them, even if they are unfamiliar with administrative procedures, and providing priority support for new initiatives that involve high risk and high return. And honestly, all of these sound absolutely phenomenal. I love Japanese entertainment and I want it to thrive, but I do think that there needs to be a lot more protection when it comes to not only the IPs and the works, but also the creatives and what they are able to do, because we see a lot of the times Japanese companies now wanting to reach a global audience, which I don't necessarily blame them for. Of course, they want to sell their products to as many people as possible, but we have seen this massive disconnect when it comes to Eastern companies versus Western companies, or even companies that started initially as Eastern companies who are now so knee deep in the Western shit that we end up seeing them basically sanitizing everything, which is very, very unfortunate. And I do think that there needs to be more guidelines for ensuring creative freedom by refraining from influencing the substance of works, whether it is on the government side of things or on the company and consumer side of things. I do also completely think that it is important that we see governments really taking this sort of expansion seriously, because entertainment, unfortunately, is often involved as a bad thing because it is used to influence people's minds on the state of the world, the state of countries, things like that. There are a lot of people in the West that view China as almost a positive force now, right? Because they make good entertainment like Black Myth Wukong and Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, which I think are absolutely phenomenal pieces of entertainment. But let's not get it twisted. China is definitely a very bad place in a lot of regards. And because video games have so much influence on, let's say, public perception, there are a lot of people like politicians who love to target video games and blame them for a lot of the problems we have. Like, look at the United States and how many US based politicians target video games by saying, oh, violence in video games leads to violence in the real world. And also, violence when you're watching things like movies, TV shows, even anime and manga lead to violence, happening in real life, which of course there's no consistent scientific evidence to back up those claims, but they constantly make them. And I think that there is a very big problem that we are facing when entertainment from other regions is brought to, let's say, North America, and specifically in my case, right, the United States, when it comes to things like censorship. And I really wonder how they are going to handle things like localization going forward, because this is a major issue that I have had for such a long time. If the Japanese people are serious about protecting their entertainment and creative works from outside influence, I do think that they need to take a good hard look at localization and all of the problems we have seen in the world of localizers over the past couple of years. They are hiring people who are politically motivated. Really, they only view the world through a political lens, and so they do make changes based on their slant and view of the world, and then we see products butchered. Is that going to change anytime soon? I don't necessarily know, but I do think that it is extremely important and something that they should probably take a good hard look at. And I do think that it is important that, this policy proposal does seek to defend creative freedom for anime, manga, and video games, because entertainment is so important, and protecting your characters and your works and your forms of entertainment is very important. There's also a quote in here where they talk about their desired guidelines, and Medi asserted, in an environment where network effects prevail and the market follows a winner-takes-all structure where those who invest the most reap the greatest rewards, Japan must compete with other countries that are providing fiscal support on the scale of hundreds of billions of yen. And to achieve their goal 8 years from now, the next 3 or so years must be regarded as the decisive period during which they will implement large-scale, long-term, and strategic support measures. In doing so, the Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry will not simply provide subsidies and end there. We will also collect and monitor data on distribution networks and works, select projects with the highest likelihood of success, and create a feedback loop to ensure the achievement of their goal. And I do also think a major point here is the way that Visa and MasterCard and payment processors in general have been targeting a lot of risque material, but also a lot of Japanese works. Years and years ago, we had heard that the Visa and MasterCard censorship was happening very prominently in Japan. Even look at Manga Library Z, Ken Akamatsu's site. They had to shut that down because they couldn't find a payment processor that would actually work with them anymore. And this is a major issue too. And we have heard some Japanese politicians talking about how they do want to look more into this and they do want to help creatives as much as possible, but that hasn't really gone anywhere at that point. And I'm curious to see if with, that will kind of be covered here. Either way, though, I do think that this is a very important statement that is now being made, and I want them to thrive. I want them to succeed because I love entertainment coming from Japan, and I do want them, yeah, to be as successful as possible. So I am certain that I will be covering this more in the future. I will definitely be checking up on this to see if any statements are made on social media by politicians, if this ends up gaining a lot of traction. I really hope it does, but this does sound really good, and of course it does give us a lot of hope going forward. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.